Hey, and welcome to Mash Hacks. My name is Ben, and today we're just going to go do a brew day. I'm making an American IPA, I think it is, and it should be fun. So keep a close eye on what we do. Let me know if you have any questions about particular pits, because today I'm just going to be doing a big general, selfie style brew day. So let's go do that. Okay, so what's the first thing I think of at the beginning of a brew day? Well, it's the recipe, really. We need to go and figure out what it is, so let's go check it out. So normally you'd use something like Brew Toad or Beersmith or something like that, and you'd get your recipe together. And once you've done that, you use the handy sheet of paper. And essentially what we've got here is an American IPA. You can see I write the grain weights up on the top left there. We've got a total grain weight of 2.9 kilos. It's a 60-minute boil, 10-litre batch, top right there. You can see I've worked out my water calculations as per my water calculations video, but essentially I'm striking at 72 degrees with 9 litres of strike water. I've got my hop schedule there as well. You can see Columbus, Cascade and Mosaic, should be pretty tasty. I've also got a few reminders at the bottom there just to say, hey, remember to treat the water and remember to grab the pre and post boil gravities. Right, so now that you know what you're brewing, the first step is to go heat up your strike water. Before you start milling grains, before you do anything, heat up your strike water. Right, I'm gonna need the burner, I need the pot and the gas. Let's go put this outside.
Okay, so I'm just filling up my strike water here, and luckily I also remembered to treat my strike water. I'm using potassium metabisulfite, otherwise known as Camden tablets. Okay, so I've moved my strike water outside, and I'm just getting the burner started here, getting our strike water heating up. And one of the brilliant things about the chef alarm is that I can set a temperature alarm. Here I'm setting it to 72. And it's going to beep when the temperature reaches 72 degrees. It makes it really easy to kind of monitor and know when your strike water is up to temp.
Alright, strike water is on, and now it's time to measure out some grain. I've got here a bucket with my scale in it, and there's all the grain I have. Oh, and plus some of the more specialty crystals and stuff like that. But let's go fill out this grist. Oops. Alright, now that we have all of our grain in the buckets, we're going to go mill that grain outside because you get a lot of flour everywhere. But I've already spilt a bunch of stuff anyway, but let's go outside. Okay, so here's our grain, and here's our mill. You can see it's just a standard burr mill. I don't know what it's called, I just got it from the home brewing store. I just use a handle because I can't be bothered. It fits on one of these buckets really nicely, and all we do is tip our grain into there and mill it into the bucket. Let's do that. And just so you're aware, here's what the difference looks like. So this is the unmilled grain. Pretty good. And they're whole, you can see, I don't know if you can see very well, but yeah, whole kernels. Oops. And reaching down. I've got this on very, very fine coarse because I'm doing brew in a bag. You can make it quite fine. I'm just gonna see if I can adjust that a bit more. And there you go. This is what it looks like once it's milled up. And again, I'm doing it very fine. You can see some husks in there, but it's all chunks and plenty of flour. You're going to want to do it not quite so fine if you're not using brew in a bag. Otherwise you'll get a stuck mash. But because I am doing brew in a bag, I can do it as fine as I want. let's keep going. All right, now we're going to put the bag in the bucket, the Brunner bag into the kettle, and then we're going to tip our grain into the kettle as well. This is difficult one-handed, but you want to really mix this up well, especially because I just tipped all the grain in at once, which means I'm going to get some dough balls, which are these lovely little balls of dough that kind of mix up. But yeah, just give this a really good stir, even like 2 to 5 minutes of just good stirring. Make sure it's all completely and well and truly incorporated. Now, I let mine, I'm not sure if you can even see that, I let mine drop a couple of degrees too far, but if you can see that, it says 65.2 degrees, which is right on about the 66 that we want. Oh yeah, and set your hour timer, and off it goes. Okay, our 1 hour mash is up. You can see that we're dropped to about 60 degrees. I did give it a stir at about halfway just to keep things moving around, especially when you've got smaller volumes like this. It's a good idea to give it a good stir, but let's get some focused footage in on that. Now you can see how it's kind of a little bit looks watery, or it looks clearer. And that's because, it's just one hint that we've got a full conversion. You can also look for little rainbows in your bubbles. It lets you know you've got it. What have we got? 57. Okay. So we dropped a fair amount. That's not to worry. Don't freak out about temperature. If you know you're going to drop a few degrees, start a bit high and then end a bit low. And that's good. Now it's time to sparge. Okay, so for my bucket full of 8 litres of sparge water, I just use cold water, and I like to just put the grains straight into this cold water. The residual heat in the grains goes ahead and it warms this up a bit anyway, but the one thing you've got to not forget to do is add your Camden to your, that's if you do add Camden, to get rid of any chlorine or chloramine, but don't forget to add your Camden to your sparge water as well. So what we're going to do is grab our mash water grab our grain from there and dump it into our sparge water there. Let's see if I can do this without a stand. You know what? I probably need a stand. Let's use a stand. Now, a couple of people ask me why I bother doing this instead of just using the full volume in the kettle. And I mean, one of it's just the strike water heats up quicker when you don't have as much. But I tried this cold sparge method once, and it worked quite well for me. And so, really, it's just habit now. I don't really mind. Might go back to a full volume mash one day. But look at the color of that. It's fantastic. And of course, you can see that our sparge water is now starting to take on some good colour too. And we'll only need to leave that for 5 minutes, and then we'll drain the bag again. There we go, yeah, you can see the colour there. And we'll drain the bag again, and then tip that into our kettle. And then we'll get the heat on. In fact, we'll probably turn the burner on now while we wait. I'm going to do that. All right, while we're waiting for that to come up to the boil, now is the time to measure out our hops, because we've got a 60-minute edition. Again, looking at our sheet, 60 minutes, 10 grams of Columbus, 5 minutes, 25 grams of Cascade and Mosaic, and then some dry hop one there, but we don't need those yet. So let's get our Columbus, Cascade and Mosaic going. Grab these little ramekin thingies from IKEA as well. They're super useful for this sort of stuff. Now, little quick pet peeve by the guys that pack these things. You put the sticker way up the top where I'm going to cut it off. You should put it down here where once I reuse it, yeah, I want to be able to reuse the packet basically. Gorgeous. A little bit yellow. These are older ones, but that's okay. Still smell fantastic and not cheesy at all. You know your hops are off when they're cheesy. This is the Columbus and I need 10 grams. That'll do. 60 minutes. Looks a little bit nicer, doesn't it? Sure does, Ben. All right. 25 G's. Oop, too much. That'll do. 60-minute Columbus. Then Cascade, well, both of these, Cascade and Mosaic, 5 minutes, they'll go in as well. Now, the other thing you should always remember is to add your fining agent as well. I like to put it in the hops bowl of the second last one, if there's a 5 or 10 minute addition. So let's do that. I like to use Irish moss. This is what it looks like, kind of seaweedy. And I'm going to put just a teaspoon straight into teaspoon. Bang. And that's the hops. Now make sure you keep an eye on this because once it starts approaching boiling, it could foam up quite a bit. And you might even think, wow, you've got 5 gallons worth of headspace here, but no, it can still foam up quite a bit, so keep an eye on it. But while we're waiting, let's get a beer. Mash Hacks beer. Let's smell it. This one looks good. It's boiling, it's boiling. There we go. We can start at 60 minutes now. Hot break's kind of come and gone. That's a big foam up. And you just missed it. And now we've got a rolling boil, so we can go ahead and add our first addition. That was the 60-minute Columbus hops. It's 5 minutes to go, so it's time to add the other 2 sets of hops. Oh, come on, one hand. You can do it. Beautiful. Let's let the steam clear, and there you go. You can see also on the side where the level has dropped, thanks to all the boiling off. Okay, so the next step, once the timer goes off, is to turn off the flame and move the pot into the bathtub so I can cool it down immediately. Oh, and there it is there. So let's do that now. Alright. Now you can leave the lid on now because it should have boiled off everything it was going to boil off. Normally you wouldn't want the lid on, but I really don't want to get that stream of water into my pot, so not doing that. You can see here that we're at 84 degrees inside there and falling. 82. So we want to get this down to as close to room temperature as we can. The groundwater in this bathtub isn't that cold, probably like 20 something degrees, so we'll do the best we can. Right, now that the water is off, we can take the lid off and start stirring. You want to stir inside the wort with the clean, sanitized spatula, And you want to move the water around the bathtub with your hands as well. Anyway, you get the idea. Keep stirring until it gets down, until it gets cool. Okay, so here you can see I've just cooled it down. I've given it a big stir in a circle. So I've given it like a Whirlpool style stir, so very fast. And you can see that it kind of kicks up all the sediment, but then it should, after maybe 5 minutes, just relax and settle down in the center. Used a spray bottle here full of sanitizing solution to sanitize our thing. I also tipped some in and, you know, swooshed it around and all that sort of stuff. You can see the lid in the background there. But that's our tiny little 10-litre fermenter, and we're going to put that on the ground now, and we're going to use a hose to siphon it down. Well, sort of siphon it down. Gravity is going to do the work, but once the level gets low in the bucket, it's nice to have the siphon pulling the rest in. So a couple of important points. One is that while I was cooling down the wort, I was giving it a good splash with this thing to aerate it out, because you want plenty of oxygen at the beginning of your fermentation. And I've cleaned out my fermenter, and probably the important thing here, I'll just zoom in, is that we fill it to about, you know, 3/4 full. You want enough headspace so that the airlock doesn't explode off the top of it. So probably about 8 litres in total. And we're going to see how much we get. But yeah, the other thing is just look how nice and clear and dark that's gotten now that it's allowed to rest. So let's start this siphon. All right. Now you'll notice you do get some hot material in at the beginning, and that's all right. Doesn't really matter how much hot material is in your fermenter. All right, that's about as full as we want to get it. So we've got maybe 2 litres of headspace there, which isn't much, but it's enough. There's our hot material, and just sort of slowly draining out the last little bit, just there. And lastly, adding the yeast. I'm trying out these new, the White Labs Pure Pitch packets, and you can't really see that very well, but I've got the San Diego Super Yeast to put into this guy. I haven't used one of these before, so let's try it out. Looks pretty good. I like the little window you get down here so you can see kind of the yeast. And yeah, basically, because this is a 10-litre batch, this will even take 20-litre batch, but I'm just going to tip this straight into there. All right, just cut it open. It smells fantastic. It's got kind of an apple kind of a smell to it, but it doesn't smell too funky, it doesn't smell off or anything like that. It smells pretty good, so I'm just going to put that straight in. It's kind of got like a double lining as well. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but there's like kind of the outer wrapper, and then there's this inner plastic. It's like a very hard plastic. It kind of caught me by surprise when I was cutting into it. Now that wort is at the right temperature. Let's get all that out of there. Kind of goopy, can you see that? There we go. That's a shitload of yeast for such a small package anyway. And airlock on, and ready to put in a nice cool place. 18 to 20 degrees hopefully. And that's brew day done. I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one, but please comment on all the bits of the video that weren't described the way you like, or because I didn't really describe any of it. So I'm keen to know what you'd like me to get into. I'm happy to make future videos about anything in the process, but otherwise, look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cheers, guys.